This is the Mustang GT. All right, here we are in the Mustang GT. Now, quick backstory, this is my personal car, and I've been daily driving this for about 2 years now. And I put some mileage on it. I feel like I'm pretty licensed to speak on this car and give some pros and cons. And if you're somebody who's on the fence about buying one of these, or maybe you're looking at Camaros or Challengers or Chargers or anything else, I feel like this video might be able to help kind of make a decision for you, or at least give you some more information, some more ammunition to kind of pull the trigger on whatever decision you want to go with. Now, after daily driving this car for 2 years, I don't know if you're buying a car for the daily or for a Sunday fun day car. Either way, this video will help with both of those. But this is my personal experience with it. I have some pros, I have some cons, and I'm going to share all of it with you guys. So first thing I want to touch on is the engine. Everybody knows the 5-liter Coyote is a really robust, stout engine. Pretty reliable, pretty low maintenance. Just take care of it, it'll keep on going. It'll last quite a bit of time. And it's got a lot of performance behind it. Now, it's pretty fun, it's pretty quick, but everybody knows the aftermarket for these engines is boost. So supercharging it is probably the way to go. It's relatively affordable, and there's lots of tunability, lots of aftermarket support, tons of parts, modifications you can do, lots of forums and people in the Mustang community that have probably gone before you and done something that you're looking at doing. So all of that kind of culminates into this really nice tied up package with a bow. And that's one of the main reasons I bought this car, is there's a lot of aftermarket support for these. Now, the engine's been great. I really enjoy the engine. There's a few things I want to touch on before I move off the engine. Pros, it's a 5-liter Coyote. Cons, it does have its quirks. Now, some of these are one-offs. They're just probably my experience with it, but some other of these issues have been experienced by the wider Mustang community. Number one, main thing that I've had issue with this engine, only big issue that I've had with this engine, were the VCT solenoids. Those are the variable cam timing solenoids. Now, they're kind of prone to go on these engines, or at least give you issues. So within the first, I would say 8,000 miles of owning the car, so I bought it with about 10,000 to 12,000-ish miles on it, I started noticing the car was shuddering and shaking and acting like it wanted to stall out sometimes when I would come to a red light. It would act like it never actually stalled, but it would act like it would want to stall out. And I wasn't sure what was going on, so I did a bunch of research and ended up deducing that it was the VCT solenoids. But I had a warranty on the car, so I figured, cool, not my problem. I'll take it into the dealership and have them fix it. Well, long story short, they couldn't replicate the problem. Surprise, surprise. So I had to end up doing it myself. Now, it actually really wasn't that bad of a problem to have, because it's a pretty straightforward process. If you're somewhat mechanically inclined like myself here, I was able to just take off the valve covers, take off everything on the top end of the engine, and swap out those VCT solenoids with some upgraded Ford Performance GT350 ones. And I haven't had the problem since, so that did solve the problem. But the con of that was there was an issue with the engine pretty much right out of the gate, and if you let it go long enough, it's timing, so it could definitely mess up your engine and do some catastrophic damage. So it's important that you get it done sooner rather than later. So luckily that problem is gone, and while I was in there, I also swapped the VVT solenoids, or the variable valve timing solenoids, and everything came out to be like under probably 300 bucks. So it wasn't really that big of a deal. It took me probably 6 hours of working time to actually swap them out, and while I was at it, I also installed an oil catch can. But not ideal when you first buy a car that's a performance car and you want to rip it around and have some spirited driving, and you have that happening right out of the gate. Not a good thing. So not everybody experiences it, but I have heard in the wider Mustang community some people having that issue. That's obviously not fun. The next thing I will say, and again, this could just be a one-off isolated thing, but after a couple thousand miles, I would say probably when I was at 26, 25,000 miles, I noticed the oil pan was leaking, and these cars have composite plastic oil pans, which I think is kind of silly. I would rather have an aluminum oil pan or something that dissipates heat a little better and it stands a test of heat cycles longer. I don't really like having plastic engine parts, especially the valve covers, but I guess for cost-saving measures, that's what Ford did. Now, that was leaking. Had that fixed under warranty. They have to pull the engine. They have to reseal everything. That would have been $1,800 out of my pocket. Luckily, the warranty covered it. Just left me with a kind of a sour taste. It wasn't a terrible leak, and obviously you can keep topping off oil, but nobody really wants to do that on a new car. With this car costing almost $60,000 new, I didn't buy it for $60,000. I bought it for far less than that because I bought it used. But for it costing $60,000 and within the first 25,000 miles it leaking, it just kind of leaves you a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth. But other than that, it being fixed, it's been smooth sailing. Moving on to the transmission, I have the 10-speed. I thought about getting the MT82, the GetRag MT82 6-speed. Didn't really love it, and if I was going to get a 6-speed, I decided I wanted the Tremec. Couldn't really afford the Tremec at the time. Tremec only comes in the Mach 1s, the GT350s, or the S650 Dark Horse. So those are out of my price range, so I decided to give the 10-speed a try. I kept hearing lots of great things about it. And I gotta say, I've been pretty happy with the 10-speed. It's really nice in normal mode. You can daily drive it. And then when you want to go from mild to wild, you switch the drive modes from Sport Plus or Track or Drag Strip, and you can have a lot of fun. You can still manipulate the gear shifts with the paddle shifters here. Obviously not quite as fun as manual, but it's very snappy, it's very fast, it's fun, and you can choose how you want to drive it from day to day. And if you're driving in traffic, it's really nice. And obviously it's very tunable as well, so you can kind of make it how you want. Any problems that you have stock, you can pretty much tune them out with on the 10-speed. So it has a lot of pluses. Plus, you have remote start, whereas on the manual transmissions, you don't have the remote start on the key fob. So transmission's been pretty good. Haven't had too many issues there. I've heard some people have to swap out CF drums or do clutch packs or retune it, but I've had nothing but good luck with it. It's been pretty good, and I'm planning on boosting it down the road. I've heard these 10-speeds do really well with boost. So I'm happy with it. I like it. I would like to get a little manual fun car and have that to rip around too, but for daily driving and for going quick and boosting eventually and doing some more performance mods, I think the 10-speed is going to be a really great transmission combo with this 5-liter Coyote. So moving on from the drivetrain, I want to talk suspension. Suspension off the showroom floor, it's pretty good. It leaves a little bit of room for improvement, but I think that's how they design these cars. They're kind of a blank canvas to a degree, and there's lots of aftermarket. There's great supporting modifications for suspension, so there's lots of stuff out there to fix and remedy all the problems that you might be experiencing with these cars from the factory. But I will say, I wish it stayed a little more planted in the turns. It's a little bit sloppy sometimes with the body roll. But again, not the end of the world. It's a little forgiving, which is nice. But down the road, I would like to dial it in a little bit. This is the Performance Pack Level 1, so it does have, I think, springs on it, just the springs, and the strut tower bracing. Those are the only real suspension modifications that they do for the Performance Pack. And then they have the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, which are great for grip. They're great in the summer, not so great in the colder weather, which is why I took them off, put on my winter set of DWS Extreme Contact Continental Ultra Performance all seasons, which they've been great, but I would love to go back to my Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's when the weather warms up here soon. We're in spring, so hopefully soon I'll be throwing those on. But other than that, suspension's pretty decent. Definitely has some room for improvement, but it's okay. With the Performance Pack, you also get the 6-piston Brembo calipers up front. You get the stanced, or staggered, I should say, setup wheels and tires front and back. You also get a larger intercooler or radiator for cooling, for oil cooling. And you also get the spoiler on the back as well, and these gauges on the dash telling you vacuum and oil pressure. So a couple little things here and there. This is also the GT Premium interior, so I have the infotainment system, I have the Bang & Olufsen sound system, the digital gauge cluster, the active exhaust, a couple other little odds and ends there, ambient lighting, position remembrance, I guess, seating position remembrance, mirror positioning remembering, and the little pony projection lamps on the side, and the heated and cooled leather seats and heated steering wheel. So it is nice. It has a lot of creature comforts. I really wanted that. I picked them out specifically like that. I didn't get MagneRide. I specifically did not want MagneRide. I'd heard some issues with the Camaros, that kind of being like an area of concern if it fails, which some of them do. They have some malfunctions, and I'd rather just have a static setup suspension and just kind of tweak it how I like. I don't really want the MagneRide as a failure point, so didn't want that, and I'm glad I didn't. I like it without it. Now, moving on to the interior, I will say there are a few things in the interior I wish I did a little bit different. Same with moving and flowing out to the exterior as well. I'll touch on that in a second. At the interior, we got some different plastics and panels, some being better quality than others, and some that I feel like shouldn't be as prevalent as they are. Maybe should be covered up a little more, maybe covered up with a little more leather or pleather, and they just kind of have the feeling of just being cheap. And I know this is a mass-produced American, affordable American muscle car, sports car, performance car, whatever you'd like to refer to it as. But it kind of sucks because I wish the quality was a little bit better on some of these plastics. I've seen other cars that are cheaper and from different brands that kind of do a little bit better job with the cheap plastics in the interior, making them feel more premium. And I just kind of wish they had done that on the Mustang, especially with the GT premium interior. With that being said, you can definitely hear some creaking and some things kind of rattling and tapping, especially depending on the weather conditions, if it's colder or warmer. And it can sometimes get on your nerves. Sometimes you're just like, you want to go out of your gourd because you got something rattling behind you while you're going down the highway, and then it goes away and it's gone. You don't know where it was or what happened to it, but it's gone. And so that's kind of a little bit frustrating sometimes. I don't love that. The other thing is the fitment on the body panels. So going to the outside, the exterior, the body panels leave a whole lot to be desired. And I've been really upset about some of the panel gap fitment. And then usually this doesn't bother me. But the reason this one bothers me specifically on this car is because the panel gap is so bad that when you open like a door or the trunk, it rubs and scrapes paint off. So now I have bare metal showing in areas that should not be showing on my body. And it's really frustrating on the bodywork when you have just bare metal showing that now it's prone to rust. It looks bad. You got to touch it up with a paint pen. It's just going to happen again. It's frustrating. Now, obviously, I could probably bring it to a body shop and have it fixed up, but who wants to do that with a brand new car or a relatively new car? It should not be doing that. The other thing is the paint quality. Now, I know American cars, again, are kind of not known for their best paint quality, but in 2025, I feel like we should have that figured out. That's one of the staples of a vehicle is picking the paint color. The paint protects the metal. It makes the car look good, especially on a sports car, muscle car, performance car. You want it to look good. You want it to be sleek looking. You want it to hold up. You want it to protect the metal and look good while doing it. And I found trash in the paint. I found fish eyes. I found lots of orange peel. And I found areas that I feel like would probably pull paint off if I were to put a decal on it or something like that, or a badge, and then pull it off. It kind of worries me. It's like the paint is not that great a quality, and it shows. And that's an area of concern of mine, because when you're buying a car like this, you want it to look good. And if the paint is not looking good, well, then what are you paying for the exterior of the car? Like, why are you paying such a premium for this vehicle? And again, these cars are getting more and more expensive every year. And I know they're supposed to be an affordable everyman's sports car, but it seems like they're just getting more and more expensive, and the quality isn't really getting too much better. Now, they do give you some more technology and creature comforts and performance, but at what cost? You know, is it really that much more? And so it leaves a little bit to be desired, like I said. So interior, exterior, quality is a little bit of a concern and sometimes can kind of get on your nerves. Now, all that being said, I've had a great experience driving this car. I've really had a lot of fun. The most recent problem I've had right now, though, is the fuel filler neck every now and then says that it's not closed or sealing properly, and that it throws a check engine light. Now, I'm going to have it checked out by my mechanic, but it'll probably be covered under warranty. It's something small. It doesn't cause any issues or impact on the drivability, and sometimes it goes away when you kind of just clean out the inside there. It's due to Ford's capless gas cap system. It's such a pain, but small minor problem, doesn't cause it to go into limp mode or anything like that. That's the only issue I've had since the oil pan leaking and the VCT solenoids. Other than that, it's been a fantastic car. Any other little things would be just like minor things that I've probably self-inflicted, like the active exhaust broke. I have heard some people say that it can break just stock, not even touching the exhaust, because it does butt up on the passenger side. The wiring harness on the passenger side does butt up against the frame rail, which can cause it to cut through that wire, which then your active exhaust doesn't work. So either you're stuck in track mode or you're stuck closed with the valves. It really all depends. It blows the fuse, it arcs, and then boom, you have no active exhaust. So mine is currently broken right now and stuck in track valve position, so it's all the way open, which sounds pretty good, I gotta say, but I kind of caused that, and that's because I put an X pipe on under the car. There's a mid pipe, and I put the X pipe there and deleted the resonator, and it's emissions legal, all that stuff, but you have to kind of jostle the exhaust around a little bit, and I pushed that wire a little bit further into the frame, and unfortunately I went over a bump and it broke the wire. So I tried to replace it, broke it again. So I have an idea of how to fix it for the third time, but that was kind of self-inflicted, so I'm not going to count that against the car. Although some people have experienced that happening with the stock car not touching the exhaust at all. So just be forewarned of that. But that's only if you have the active exhaust. And the active exhaust is pretty nice because obviously you can quiet down the car. You can set a timer in the morning if you don't want to piss off your neighbors, if you're doing a cold start. And then of course you can open the valves up to a louder position and enjoy all that sweet V8 horsepower soundtrack. So overall, out of 10 stars, I would give this car an 8. There are a few things that are lacking, and I think some aftermarket support will fix that. But from the factory, being my experience, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I'm going to own this car for many more years. I really enjoy it. It's almost paid off at this point, which is a really nice feeling as well. And I bought it certified pre-owned. I have a warranty on it, and it's been pretty well taken care of. The previous owner had it for obviously a pretty low amount of miles, and it was serviced regularly, and everything was good about it. But as long as you take care of it, you enjoy the car, drive it how it's supposed to be, I think you're going to really enjoy this car. And then whether that's an S650 or an S550 like this, they're very similar. There are some differences, but they're very similar. The only difference being right now is you can't tune the S650s currently unless you get a Whipple supercharger from Whipple or Ford. That's really the only caveat. It just comes down to exterior looks, interior looks, what do you like? There's a few little minor differences that somebody might be more inclined towards. And just remember, you're probably going to be paying more because the 650 is newer. And I have heard some mixed reviews of the 650. It didn't really sell as well as they thought it would, and there's some things there as well, but that's a separate video. This is just to help you decide whether or not you're interested in buying a Mustang GT, whether that's pre-owned, private sale, dealership, Carvana, I don't know, wherever you're buying it from, or brand new. Hopefully this helps you kind of make a little bit more of a decision as to which way you want to go. Now, I can make a whole different video for Camaros and Challengers and Chargers, Audis, BMWs, whatever you're looking at, Supras. But me driving this car daily for 2 years, I can assure you that it is a fun car. I think it's worth the money if you can get it for a decent price. And I got this car for a little over like 32, 33, 34-ish when I bought it a couple years ago. And I think it's been worth every penny of it. It was a fully loaded car. It came with a full bumper-to-bumper warranty. It was low mileage. It's solid. So if I had to say you're on the fence and go for it, I would say go for it. If you have the money, I would go up and get a Mach 1 with the Tremec, or like a GT350 or a GT500 if you can afford that. That's a cool car. But honestly, the GT, you can't go wrong with it, and there's tons of aftermarket. Leaves you money to do lots of stuff and modifications to it and make some pretty cool horsepower, pretty big numbers, and have a lot of fun with it. So that would be the end of this video. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Love to answer any questions. If I missed anything you want to point out, please do that as well. I'm always open to criticism. Constructive criticism, helping me out to make my videos better, maybe giving more information. If there's anything that I missed in the video that you want to know about the car, please ask, and I'll be sure to answer you in the comments. So without further ado, I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. See you later.